Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Brian. So in the last video, I've talked about why you must use a custom LM app and what kind of things you need to build this. And that includes libraries and how the agent works behind the scene. And in today's video, I'll be explaining how to create a custom tool for an agent. Now, to create the tools, you essentially need two things as explained before in part 1. So you need the input and also the tool. The input for the input you use the Python tag. So this one, the typing and Python tag. The Python tag one is essential to this one because with Python tag you can define custom classes. So Python tag offers data validation. So touching a little bit on the Python tag library, when it's combined with OpenAI, it can handle output parsing that is from the OpenAI function calls to our own Python functions. This allows seamless interaction between them. This was a great article by Jason Liu, by the way, so please check it out in the description below. Now that we've talked about the inputs, let's go to the tools for the agent. So the tool is where you define the instructions to use the tool for the agent. So in here, for example, and the function to call it for, this one. So the instructions is where you define what the tool is used for and what kind of input you expect to get for calling our function here. This will help the agent to create an input based on what we have written. So for example, this tool is the stock price tool. It is used to get the stock ticker price based on the latest date of a ticker code. So this run function takes a stock ticker code as a string and then it calls the get stock price based on this input. So this input has to be the type of stock price check input which we have defined earlier. So this relates the input and the tool. So for example in here, it's the stock price check input which is just a string for the ticker code for the stock or index. And so that's just one simple example of how you would use the input and tool and relate it together. So what if you want to have this input be used in multiple tools? And you want to do that because you don't want to create input for each tool that you want to use for. So for example here, this is a stock and days input. This accepts a comma separated list with length of 2, consisting of a string and a number. So this is a string, but it's just a comma separated string. By that I mean it's not a Python list, instead it's just a string. The list word is just for the agent to understand. I'll be using the list word throughout the video and I'll differentiate it when it comes to defining a Python list. And you can use this in multiple tools, for example in my case, because this accepts the ticker and the dates you want to look for. So for example here, this is the stock percent change tool. It is used to get the price change percent or the stock performance over n days ago. So for example, if the user queries the Microsoft stock price over 30 days ago, so first the agent will try to translate Microsoft into MSFT. How the agent knows this? Because we defined instruction here, you should input the stock ticker used on Y-Finance API and also input the number of days to check the change over. So the user query is, what is Microsoft stock price over 30 days ago? And it would take Microsoft and 30 days ago. Microsoft will be translated to MSFT and 30 days ago will be translated into 30 because this is the input that we want to have and be used in our defined function get price change percent. And now we go to the function get price change percent. So here it accepts stock ticker days, same as string input. Also add the doc string here, a string object in the format of comma separated ticker and days. So for example, Commonwealth Bank is CBA.AX and the timing here is 10 days ago. So the ticker, comma, days, and no space there. And then we try to process the input by splitting the comma. And then we try to call the get historic process. This is just to get the data. And then calculate the price change. So this is functions that return a number or a string in case in here. So what if you want to return a plot? How can the agent do that? So first of all, initially I tried to use the agent's generated code, generate Python code to create the plots. But there are two main troubles that I discovered. First, the agent generated code wouldn't be able to create a nice visualization, meaning that the plot will be plain looking. And also running the code will be a problem, because in this case, we need to transform the data first, rather than just putting the code in. So for example here, we need to split the comma, and then we need to get the historical price from the Finance API, and then extract the closing price from there. So just to give a bit of sense, what I'm trying to say is, when you look at the first plot here, you can see the difference between the next plot. So the first one is the agent's generated code, and the second one is my code, is the developer's code, essentially. So you can see the difference there. Although there's not really major difference between the two, you can still get what I mean. When you are the developer, when you have the freedom to create your own plots, you can add as many details as you want. And that just adds a meaning to the visualizations rather than just plain looking one. So for example there I added the lowest point and the highest point, meaning the minimum and the maximum of the closing price. And also added the X level and Y level to give it meaning. What does X and what does Y mean in the plot? So I'd rather create my own plot where I can add as many details as I want to create a meaningful plot, rather than a plain looking one where a user cannot understand. So that's why you would want to create your own plot rather than using the agent's generated code. So because you need to return something from this get historical price plot function. So in this case, you can return, for example, in my case, I return the get price change percent for the get historical price plot, and for candlestick plot, I return the price change percent as well. For the multiple historical price plot, I use the get best performing stock. So I will not go through what get best performing stock is. You can see it if you're curious in my GitHub. But in the next video, I'll be going through the code for the application using Streamlit and how to use the tools here to be used by the agent, and what kind of agent do we need from Langchain. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you do enjoy it, please drop a like, otherwise just dislike it so I can improve. And if you do have any suggestions or recommendations, please comment down below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.